Welcome to the Fresh Start Podcast, where we discuss debt management and financial wellness. Here are your hosts, Lionel and Stacy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lionel, aka Smitty, and she's attorney Stacy, aka Happy, and welcome to Fresh Start. Today's episode is Garnishments, and it's basically a continuation of the episode we did last week where we talked about lawsuits. Typically, when you're sued for funds or anything monetary, the first step is a lawsuit, and the second step is a garnishment. So, what exactly is a garnishment?
A writ of garnishment is what's issued, and simply put, a writ of garnishment is an order that is served on an individual or an entity, and it requires them to withhold property from a particular person and in order to satisfy a debt.
So, simplified, once that order comes, it's either going to your bank or to your job,
or to some other person who may have property of yours that a creditor is attempting to seize.
Gotcha.
But for the most part, that property is usually wages.
Gotcha.
Plain and simple. They want money. They don't want to have to sell anything. They don't want to have to store anything. They don't want to have to come get anything. So the easiest
is your paycheck.
It is the quickest and simplest way to satisfy debt. Prior to a creditor garnishing your bank account or your paycheck, they will have obviously sued you.
Right.
And that lawsuit is what enables them to get a judgment, and that judgment enables them to get a writ of garnishment. So a creditor can never garnish you
without having
sued you. Now, there are few instances where a creditor does not have to have sued you in order to get a garnishment.
Right. So if you owe federal taxes or state taxes or student loans, they do not have to sue you before you get garnished. When you see those notices from the IRS or your local state taxes or tax authority or your student loan folks attempting to collect, somewhere in that fine print is they're telling you that their next step could be garnishment. So they do not have to sue you. Now, most types of garnishments can take up to 25% of your paycheck. And we're after taxes, what your disposable income after taxes can be garnished. Now, here's the thing. It does not matter if, for instance, you get a bonus check or you get your overtime on a separate check, because it's not a fixed amount. They can get up to 25%. Now, for student loans, they typically take about 15% of your wages, but remember that the garnishment is probably going to be between 10 and 25%. A bank account garnishment is a little different, because in that instance, they're taking the funds that are in your account to send them off to the court. Now, they do not send those funds immediately directly to the creditor, whoever that creditor may be. They take those funds and they send it to the court registry, and then the court will distribute those funds, whether they come from your bank account or from your employer. Those funds are sent to the court initially. If you act quickly, there may be ways to stop the court from distributing those funds and return them to you. But you have to speak to a professional and come in quickly when that happens to take some action, to see what your actions are that you could take.
And also keep in mind, your employer really doesn't have an option in terms of honoring that garnishment. You could be their star employee, number one employee. They love you to death. They have to enforce that garnishment. And the reason they have to enforce that garnishment, because if they don't send in money when there is money that should be sent in, your employer could then become liable for your debt. And certainly you don't want that to happen, because that certainly will jeopardize your employment.
So take note of what she just said. If your employer does not honor that garnishment agreement from the court,
they become liable along with you for that debt.
Right.
So definitely, and I should say a lot of employers are good and they will notify you of the garnishment when they receive it, because there's a time frame that there's a period of time where there are a few weeks before they actually have to implement the garnishment. So there's a little window there for you to take some action before that garnishment actually starts.
And that's generally a couple of pay periods.
And well, if you're paid weekly, yeah. But if you're paid once a month or bi-weekly, that may not be. So the sooner you know about it, the sooner you need to act.
Right.
And as Lionel was saying, the money is taken from your paycheck and it's sent to the court. The court will hold that money for a short period of time to allow for any
legal challenges
to dispersing that money. And again, that's why you need to act right away, because it's very possible to get those funds back. And certainly you worked hard for it. You want your money back.
And this is something else you need to keep in mind. If you have a bank garnishment and you have direct deposit, for instance, even though you can't take funds out of those accounts, funds can still be deposited into the account.
That's a very good point.
So
the garnishment, a bank account garnishment is basically good for 30 days. Right. So whatever funds come into that account during that time
from any source
are subject to being turned over to the clerk of court to eventually pay your creditor.
But there have to be some exemptions.
There are some exemptions. Okay. Certain retirement funds are exempted. Certain disability funds, certain funds paid by the government. But all of these exemptions vary by state. So you definitely want to talk to someone to find out if your funds fall under any of those exemptions and are certainly not allowed to be garnished. So you need to act immediately so that you can preserve your funds.
Listen, no one deserves to live this way. You need to come and see us, talk to a professional. Let's help you resolve this issue, because financial stress can put a lot of strain on your psyche, your mental. You have to get up every day and go to work. And what's the point of going to work if you can't even get the paycheck that you're earning? So definitely come and talk to somebody quickly. It's not too late. Come and see us.
We have 3 locations in the Metro Atlanta area. If you're local, if you're out of the state or not local, please give us a call. We can still provide some options for you. Consultations are always free. The only thing it will cost you is a little bit of your time. So please do give us a call and help us help you get the fresh start that you deserve.
We will talk to you next week.